here with the Ghost Doctor, who just broke some news. Chris, thanks again for sticking around.
Yes.
Give us a quick recap again of this book you're working on.
Yeah, so I'm working on this book. It's going to be a handbook for death and dying. A lot of people are experiencing people dying in their family and things like that. So I want to kind of peel back the layers of the mystery of death and dying from what I've observed by talking to spirits, interviewing them, and really get into some of the mysteries of life that you probably haven't been privy to.
Right. Well, and actually that kind of sounds like it could be a part of the healing and grieving process for a lot of people, is to kind of understand that. So we are really excited for that. Now, as you guys can see, we have a table full of really fun stuff. What are we looking at here? Yeah,
so I love pop culture and I love horror movies, and because what I find is that art imitates life, imitates art.
Yes.
So it's just this cycle, because I'll watch these movies and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is something I've run into the paranormal field, being a ghost behaviorist.
Right.
Case in point, like Slimer. Everybody knows Slimer from the Ghostbusters.
Slimer, yes.
And when you go out into the paranormal field, I find that there are actually feeder-type spirits that exist in the afterlife, where they'll start feeding off people, the environment.
Right.
And another thing that happens in the afterlife is you can manipulate energy, you know, and what happens is you have this mindset that you want to constantly feed on things, so that mindset gets projected outward. So in essence, you can kind of turn yourself into a Slimer-like entity.
Which is honestly the plot point for when he turns him into the Stay Puft Marshmallow, right?
Absolutely. Mind manifestations being real.
Yes.
So same thing with Stay Puft.
That's hilarious. Awesome. All right, what else do we got here? I see Annabelle.
Yeah, Annabelle is a perfect example of that. What people don't realize is that there are spirits in the afterlife that like to cling on to things.
Right.
And when it's something like this, they can't get back into a human body, so they find the next best thing. They attach themselves to dolls, toys, things like that. I've cleansed these, by the way.
Thank you.
But in the case of Annabelle, which is a real doll, you know, this thing wants to attach itself to that, and create havoc in the area.
Right, yes.
So another thing I'm going to talk about too, Five Nights at Freddy's is a big game with kids.
Yes.
And of course, what I find is that spirits, dark entities, like to possess electronics. This is something that has been happening a lot recently.
One more reason for parents to freak out.
Yeah, in exorcism circles, a lot of exorcism priests are starting to get texts from demons on their cell phones when they're doing these things.
Okay.
And that's one of the interesting things about Five Nights at Freddy's, is they're the electronic, or they're these intelligent, sentient things that have become sentient, and they've actually become possessed by like these evil type entities. And it's also kind of reflected a little bit in the new Megan horror movie that just came out. You know, she starts off nice, and then at some point she flips.
Right.
So
as all AI
you can make that
are
connection
intent to do.
as well. Then we have the Pokemon. I'm sure if you're
have any children or anything at all, yes.
Yes, there's actually a ghost type of Pokemon, and it's interesting too, because what I find in the demon world specifically is that you get to level up. You know, the more evil deeds that you do, you can level up, become bigger, get bigger cloaks, things like that.
Right.
And the same thing is true in the Pokemon universe. You start off as this little ghastly type thing, and then you power up, you become a haunter, then a ghastly, and then you just become, you know, big and bad, and at that point, you know, you got to call in the exorcism, or somebody like me to cleanse your house.
You got to call in the cleanser. Well, it's not all those so bad. I remember Beetlejuice when I was a kid. He was pretty funny. Yeah. So the interesting thing about Beetlejuice is a lot of the times, what I find is these entities, when I'm out in the field, like they're like the entities that you find in closets, in the basements. They are scared, literally scared to step foot outside of the house. If you remember in that movie, when they stepped outside of the house, it was just this desert landscape. Yeah, the sandworms.
You know, and like what I said, you project that mind thought outward. So you can project that reality in the afterlife and just be like, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to get out of there. So with the book, tying in the book, you know, I'll tell you in this handbook to the dead in the afterlife, I'll tell you some of the things that you can avoid, that you can do to avoid the pitfalls of succumbing to that. Oh, fantastic. And then, so which one is your favorite here? What's like one of your favorite genres? We've got Stranger Things, we've got Needlehead. You can tell my husband what's Absolutely. So, yeah, another thing I'd like to cover is Freddy Krueger, because people don't realize that demons can get into your dreamscape.
Okay.
What I was talking about earlier with the dream catchers. You know, this is why the Indians have that that whole philosophy to keep having a dream catcher above your head to keep those things at bay, because I find that demons, they can pierce your dream state a lot better than piercing into your home or reality.
Yikes. Well, I hope you're listening, Damon, so don't go to sleep tonight. He's with the boys in the back are freaking out. And then, is this an Ewok?
No, that is a gremlin. Gremlin, yeah, and I put that in there because I've actually interacted with like gremlin-type entities.
Oh, really?
They're not quite demons, but they're not quite,
Unless
you know,
they eat
human.
after midnight, right?
Yeah, and I've caught an EVP of one of these things, and it's just this weird guttural sound, like, yeah, like I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
But what I find is that, you know, on the other side, you start off as this, you know, just bubbly type, you know, human, and then over time, if you get into the wrong things, like you eat late at night or whatever, you can slowly turn into this twisted type thing that can go out and stalk people and...
Yikes. All right, well, thank you for keeping us and our souls safe. We'll have him back again next month to talk about more paranormal stuff.